Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Command Score studio. Welcome to the show. So, spoiler season is really revving. Okay, I could not help myself that time. It's like the fifth pun I've made on these episodes. Really exciting spoilers that we've been waiting for quite some time from both the artwork as well as, well, some of the teasers from Morrow, and one of them really has got my attention. Let's jump into it. So, to start things off, Possession Engine. Yeah, I believe this is the very first artwork that we saw for the Dimir team. I can't remember the actual name of the Dimir team. Something about specters or something. Anyways, the Dimir team has some really cool artwork. Ghostly chains and like a ghostly car. And yeah, it makes sense with the name of the car being Possession Engine. Absolutely. 5/5 artifact vehicle for 5 mana in blue, crew 3. When this vehicle enters, gain control of target creature an opponent controls for as long as you control this vehicle. That creature can't attack or block for as long as you control this vehicle. So it kind of makes sense with the picture, right? You kind of like steal a creature and strap it down to your vehicle, and you're like, we're driving this way. So this is kind of like, well, Control Magic, I guess, was kind of like the original thing where it's like, hey, steal a creature, but it's like based on that thing being in play, or at least I believe that was the original. Anyways, you steal that thing all of a sudden, and it is yours. This one's a bit different in that, again, the creature cannot attack or block if you have the vehicle still. So you do, get the benefit of stealing it, and the opponent does not have it, but you also can't attack or block with it. You can actually crew the thing, which is kind of weird because it's like, I stole you. Drive this car. But you can't attack or block, but drive the car. So again, you are gaining control of it. It is more, I would say, like, again, like if you're stealing an opponent's commander, that's already just an amazing thing because it's like, hey, yeah, good luck with your deck working if it's built around your commander entirely. Or, again, if you have an ability for that creature that you're stealing, that can be absolutely massive as well. An ability or an effect, I would say, is probably what you're looking for when you're stealing that creature. At the very least, though, let's say 5/5 vehicle that kind of is like pseudo removal in a way and pretty much can crew itself kind of in a way too. So yeah, vehicle decks can definitely consider it. Theft decks can consider it as well. It's a really cool card, and I love that art. That shark's just like, ah! Moving on. We've got Autark. I don't know how to say that word. Mammoth, there we go. 5/5 Elephant Mountain, I don't know how to say that word. For 6 mana in green. Mammoth, got that down. Autark, not so much. 6 mana in green. When this enters, whenever it attacks while saddled, make a 3/3 Elephant creature token. Saddle 5. Yeah, we are getting 8 power across 2 bodies for 6 mana. That's all right. Again, if you've got like a token strategy, a populate strategy, you might want to consider that. Saddle 5 is a lot to actually get to, but that being said, the benefit is also obviously good. Again, you make an elephant. Is this for every deck? Absolutely not. Is it for certain very specific populate decks? Maybe. Or Elephant Tribal. There you go. Moving on. Cloudspire Captain. Some really cool art on this one. I like the art in this set. 2/3 Human Pilot for 3 mana in white. Mounts and vehicles control ++1. This creature saddles, mounts, and crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. Again, it is a pilot, so yeah, it's got that essentially. These days, they've updated that with mounts as well. Yeah, if you're playing mount, vehicle tribal, which I'm sure is a thing now, cool. If you're not, probably don't use this. Next up, Defend the Rider. This one is more so a card that's going to see a good amount of use. Again, instant for a single green mana, choose 1. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. They're starting to pair those together a lot more these days, and that is quite the potent pairing. Create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token. With this token, saddles, mounts, and crews vehicles as though its power 2 or greater. Sorry, 2 greater. So essentially, this one is a 1 mana save essentially anything, not from every situation, but the vast majority of situations. This is a 1 mana get out of jail free card for your best permanent. You're like, oh, you're trying to deal with my commander? No, that's not happening. So yeah, if you've got like a targeted kind of, certain commanders like to be targeted, or like other things targeted to, like Ivy kind of thing, but not that one. Anyways, if you've got a commander that cares about targeting, great. If you've got a commander that you really just want to protect, or a certain permanent that you want to protect, I've got a couple decks actually where utilizing, there's that one white card, it's like a single white mana that basically protects something, and then, with indestructible and hexproof, but also it also gives like +2/+2. It's an artifact creature. I can't remember the name of it, but anyways, yeah, I don't really care about the pump on that. I really don't care about that at all. I care about is protecting the thing. So again, if you like, again, those 1 mana, like, save, get out of jail free cards, again, if your commander is like the engine of your deck and you really care about saving your commander more than you care about saving the rest of your team, it's an amazing card. Or other specific permanents as well. I've got other decks as well. We're like, yeah, that permanent, kind of important. Yeah, Inkter Nephilim. Anyways, or yeah, make that pilot. So obviously if you do have, say, again, a mount, vehicle, tribal deck, cool. You make a pilot, awesome. It's going to be good for those kinds of decks. That being said, it's not just for those kinds of decks too, because like this is more flexible than you might think it is. Like, if you really want a 1/1 for whatever reason, again, if you got populate, if you've got, like, a go-wide strategy, cool. Make the 1/1 with this. Great. All right, cool. I mean, that could just be like Jetmir kind of maybe-ish, where it's like you could utilize it as protection for Jetmir, or you can, like, oh, I'm at 7 creatures, I need to get to 8, or whatever the number is. Cool, I'll play this, and all of a sudden, I'm there. Or 8 or 9, whatever that number is. Anyways, or it can be like a pseudo-fog on a creature, too, or like a gotcha. Like, if someone swings at you, like, with a creature, like, oh, I don't want to get hit by that, so 1 mana, block, cool, thank you. Again, it is at instant speed. Next up, we've got Marshall's Path Cruiser. This one might see no play. 6/5 vehicle for 3 mana. Enter a search library, basic land, reveal, put your hand, then shuffle. If it was in play, obviously it would see a lot of play, comparatively to what it's going to see. Exhaust for Wooburg. That's why it's going to see almost no play, because it can't fit into many decks. This vehicle comes out artifact creature, put 2 counters on it. It's got crew 5. I mean, it's not the worst thing, right? Like, it is not the worst thing at all. It's just, again, it's very, very specific. Like, literally, do you have a vehicle deck that is 5 colors? Yes? Cool. If not, well, you've got a vehicle deck that's not 5 colors, because most vehicle commanders aren't 5 colors. Well, too bad you can't use this, because, you know, that Wooburg in there. And, yeah, other kinds of decks that aren't vehicle decks in the 5 colors, like, it's going to be hard-pressed to utilize this. Like, you could be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's a 6/5 in the waiting until I, you know, pay 5 more mana, so 8 mana in total to make it an 8/7. Oh, cool. It got me 1 land when it entered the battlefield into my hand, not in play. So, yeah, skip it. Skip it unless you've got 5-color vehicle travel and you're like, my God, the card I've been waiting for forever. Moving on. Molt Tender, a 1/1 insect druid that has, well, tap, mill a card. It's a single green mana. Probably should have said that first. Tap, exile a card from your graveyard, add 1 mana of any color. So, yeah, I mean, it is a good card when it comes to a low-the-ground mana dork, essentially, for you, and also a mill creature. So if you're a self-mill strategy, this can be very good for you, especially early on in the game. You're like, okay, get it down, just start milling right away, and then when you need it for mana, utilize that. Obviously, I mean, unless you've got something else to get into your graveyard, like, I guess if you turn 2 Evolving Wilds, like, turn 1 this, turn 2 Evolving Wilds, then sure, you can ramp with this as well, but then I guess if you're Evolving Wilds, regular fetch, let's go to the regular fetch lane, because you can land a play on tap, then you can ramp, I guess, on turn 2 with that. Regardless, it is a little bit slower than other mana dorks, obviously, unless, like, you have things built up, you know, which at some point later in the game, it is going to be built up where you have enough things in the graveyard, but still, yeah, if you are in a self-mill strategy, it's probably a very good card for you, or maybe an Insector Druid strategy as well. Druids! Yes, Seton, the Crows and Protector, is going to love this one. Low the ground Druids, yep. Next up, we've got Spot Cycle. I almost said Sport Cycle. Spot Cycle Scouter. A 3/2 vehicle for 2 mana in white. When this vehicle enters, scry 2, and it's got crew 1. So, yeah, I mean, ETB, scry 2, that's quite nice. Crew 1, it's very easy to crew. It doesn't have any evasion, though. I mean, very specific. I mean, probably more so just vehicle tribal, really. Like, if you do have, like, a blink strategy that, like, can consistently blink things that aren't just creatures, then sure. But, like, I guess you could, like, crew this pretty easily in that deck, too. But, like, scry 2, you probably have other, like, ETB draw cards as well. So it's probably more so just for vehicle tribal. Next up, Wreck Remover. A 3/4 construct for 4 mana. When this creature enters or attacks, exile to 1 target card from your graveyard. You gain 1 life, cycling for 2. Yes, yet another card that is cycling 2. I just keep checking these off because I want to make a fluctuator deck one day where it's just like literally every single card in the deck is just cycling 2, and you just cycle through your entire deck and you're like, that was it. Yay. Your opponents are like, that was boring. You're like, yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah, outside of that, this is very specific and not very good. So yeah, unless you really care about cycling, skip it. Moving on, though, a card that is much less specific and very good, and I love it. Oh my goodness, this is good. March of the World Ooze. Gross. I mean, this art is just like, oh, okay, gross. Ew. Okay, I mean, everything's an ooze, I guess. Ew. Enchantment for 6 mana in green. Creatures you control have base power and toughness 6/6 and are oozes to their types. Whenever opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, you create a 3/3 elephant creature token. Yeah, this is a mythic for a reason, and I have a feeling this one's going to be decently expensive because, yeah, free creature token production on top of, oh, by the way, they're not 3/3s, they're 6/6s. They're all 6/6s. It's kind of, I guess it makes sense that they're like, it's making 3/3s. But it changes them into 6/6s, so if this ever gets dealt with, then they're back to 3/3s, I guess, okay? So that does make sense that it's making, like, a different power and toughness. That being said, literally, if opponents cast spells on not their turn, which happens all the time in Commander. Again, it doesn't have to be even on your turn. It's anyone else's turn. If any opponent casts a spell on anyone else's turn other than their own, you get a 6/6, essentially. Which is pretty crazy because, yeah, I mean, oh gosh, what's a Wrath of the Endless Web? That's like, hey, opponents, cast instant or sorceries, and I get a 1/2 with reach. Yeah, which is good. It is good, and it sees a good amount of play in creature token producing decks. But like, this is like, hey, you know what? Players like to cast instants, and if you do that all of a sudden, or creatures with flash, I should say, or anything else with flash, all of a sudden, I'm making giant elephant oozes. Yay! On top of just literally, you know, the creature token production this has, it's like, oh, again, every single one of your creatures has base power enough to 6/6, which, if you're playing just like a go wide strategy that makes, like, say, a bunch of tokens, like usually like a bunch of 1/1s, this is like +5/+5. This is like Beastmaster Ascension. Yeah, when this was actually, I think this was teased, like the first part was teased, like the ooze 6/6 part or whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, that's really, really good. And I'm pretty sure I said it probably cost 6, 7, 8, maybe? I don't know, depending on what it did. And yeah, this is just 6 mana, which is a really, really good. Being able to, again, pump your entire team by a ton, and then also on top of that, make an absurd amount of creatures throughout the game with this that, again, are all giant threats. Yeah, have fun with that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I could definitely see this thing play in a good amount of, again, go wide strategies, token strategies, especially token strategies, because you really care about, again, making a bunch of different creatures, additional creatures with this just being in play. Yeah, it's a really, really solid card. And I guess if you care about oozes and ooze tribal, there you go, that too. Or I guess elephant and elephant tribal. But yeah, just think about like this paired with like Warstorm Surge. Gross. Every single time one of your creatures could play, it's 6 damage, including when opponents cast spells on not their turn. Ouch. So yeah, that's fun. But speaking of fun, a commander that I've been thinking about ever since it was spoiled is Redshift Rocketeer Chief, and I'm doing a quick take on this one, showing you how this one works, how we're going to build around it, and yeah, it does say $19.98 right now, but keep in mind this is well before the actual set is coming out, so that price is going to drop, I would assume, quite a bit, unless I'm completely wrong on Redshift, which I might be. You know, finance people out there, let me know. But I don't think there's a giant, you know, just everyone needs to go get this card right now kind of thing. It's a really cool commander, though. I think it's a lot of fun. Let's dig into it. A 2/3 Goblin Pilot for 2 mana in Gruul Vigilance. Tap, add X mana of any one color. X is Redshift's power. Spend this mana only to activate abilities. It also has an ability. There you go. Exhaust. Pay 10 in Gruul colors. Put any number of permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. So, well, you increase the power. You tap Redshift, and you're like, yeah, 11 mana all in red. And I need to tap this one little forest to add an extra green. And there you go. Yeah. And then you dump your hand on the battlefield and you say, what now, everyone? Yeah, you can do some gross, amazing, awesome things with this. Obviously, you're in 2 colors that are incredibly good at pumping the power of this one. I mean, we just talked about the ooze one, right? Like, go ahead and add that to the deck, right? If it's not like an absurd amount of money. I'm not going to be able to add it because I'm a budget-friendly player, but yeah, that's going to be an absurd amount of money. Anyways, just getting up to 6, it's like, okay, this taps for 6. That gets you nearly, I mean, get you halfway there, I guess, with this. But you probably still want tap effects, too, or other pump effects as well. You can easily get there where, again, dumping your hand on the battlefield is absurdly good. And of course, if you have other activated abilities of other creatures out there, before you even decide to activate this own one, cool, you can activate those. On top of that, again, even though exhaust means activate each exhaust ability only once, again, it is just once. That being said, obviously, if you got a way to bounce this back to your hand, not really too many ways to blink this. I mean, I guess like Conjurer's Closet, sure, that kind of thing as well. That can reset it too. Or if it dies and you bring it back, not really a lot of reanimation effects. Mostly like, hey, if you replay it from the command zone, or again, if you have a way to bounce like a Team or Sabretooth and replay it, cool. Then all of a sudden you can do that again once you build up a hand again, which of course you can do maybe with some giant ETBs of like draw cards and that kind of thing. So you can do a lot of exciting things with this one. Let's jump into those cards to consider. Okay, first up, very simple, very effective. I pretty much say this whenever you're like, hey, Commander wants its power. Yeah, there you go. Black Blade Forged. Yes, of course, especially since you're in green. It's amazing. +1 for each land you control. Great. Equip your Commander, and all of a sudden, it's got a lot more power. It can tap for a lot more mana to equip. Also, keep in mind that it's actually the ability of Redshift can just like equip it the first time if you really want to. Again, like your tap, oh, it's only like 2 power or 3 power, whatever. Cool. All right, tap, equip it. Next turn, tap for a lot more. Agatha the Vile Cauldron. When it comes to abilities, yeah, this is a very good card, and one that Blackblade could work really well on too. A 1/1 Human Warlock for 2 mana in Gruul. Activate abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha's power. That can't reduce the mana that costs less than 1 mana. Pay 6 mana in total. Other creature control gain +1 and gain trample and haste all turn. So yeah, that haste actually can be very, very useful, of course, for your commander, because now you can tap it right away. We'll talk about other haste cards as well, but yeah, a good finisher for you too, on top of it being like, yeah, let's reduce down abilities, including my commanders. Yeah, that ooze card is looking even better now, right? If both of them had 6 power, lovely, and we're oozes for some reason. Seeker of Skybreak, yeah, any kind of like an untap effect you might want to consider. Again, if you have a lot of abilities that you want to dump mana into, great, this can help you. Tap, untap target creature, very simple, very easy. All of a sudden you're like, okay, my commander can tap for 8 mana now. Say, all right, I'll tap it for 8 mana for abilities, and I will untap it and do it again. Cool, and yeah, that can just get you there to actually activate your commander itself. Or, yeah, utilize other abilities. Speaking of abilities, though, really expensive card that is broken with this commander. An enchantment for 3 mana, Aggravated Assault. Pay 5 mana in red in total. Untap all creature you control after this main phase or combat phase. While it's main phase, activate this ability only time you cast a sorcery. Yeah, basically, infinite mana for activating abilities, I should say, and infinite combats. Rules lawyers out there. Yes, I know. Technically, you cannot say infinite, so 1 trillion. Whatever it is, you have 1 trillion mana. Cool. And you have 1 trillion activated abilities. Cool. Then you got 1 trillion combats. All right, there you go. So you basically just win the game. Rising of the Day, though. Creature control of haste, ledger creature control +1/+0. Is relevant with both things. Again, the power boost is actually nice, even though it's tiny. It's a little one that's an extra mana for you, though, which is great. And on top of that, being able to activate your commander right away, again, can be absolutely massive and absolutely huge. In fact, it can just be like, oh, I have this in play. Oh, I've got, like, that ooze pump thing in play, maybe another anthem in play, or one that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Oh, I can, like, tap my commander right away for, like, 11 mana. Fantastic. Just do that right away, and all of a sudden activate it and dump your hand onto the board. 1,000-year elixir. This thing needs like 5 more reprints. Please, Wizard. Please, Wizards. Artifact for 3. Activate abilities creature control as though they had haste. Basically, for your ability creatures. Cool, they have haste. Awesome. Pay 1 tap, untap target creature. So again, you can actually utilize Redshift's ability to untap this. You're like, okay, tap for, say, 6 mana, dump 1 into this, tap it to untap again, tap for another 6 mana. There you go. You're nearly there for the activation for your commander. Umbral Mantle, yet another infinite with this commander. This one works in a very funny way with it, too, where you just kind of like keep building it up. You pay 3, and then you get, equip creature has pay 3, untap this creature, and gets +2/+2 until turn. I probably should have read that first. Yeah, so basically, you just keep tapping your commander to untap it, to pump it, to tap your commander, to untap it, to pump it. So literally, even if you just like don't have any other effects on your commander, you're like, okay, I tap my commander for 2. Do you have 1 more mana available? Yeah, probably. Okay, utilize that. You then untap your commander, gets +2/+2. Now you tap it for 4, and there you go. You've got infinite mana. Again, not infinite, but I'm just going to keep saying infinite, okay? Infinite mana, infinite power on your commander, and you can dump your entire hand on the board, of course. Sword of the Parents, yet another way to infinitely tap and untap your commander and get infinite mana for activated abilities. Keep in mind, it is only for activated abilities, but again, there's certain abilities that are repeatable. Like, if you are building around, like, these combos, like, sure, if you have any kind of a creature in play that's like, spend an absurd amount of mana to deal 1 damage to a player. Doesn't matter. You can do it an infinite amount of times. You win. There you go. Raised by Giants, a great card for this as well. Commander creatures you own have base power toughness 10/10 or Giants or other types. Yeah, that's amazing with this commander because, again, your commander now is just a, oh, I've got 10 power just naturally now? All right, tap for 10. Cool. I just took care of 10 of that 12 ability cost that I have. Or I just activated Atali Primal Conqueror. Yeah, when it comes to, like, big things you want to cheat into play with this commander, This is a great one. A 7/7 Elder Dinosaur Trample for 7 mana ETBs. Each player exiles from the top of their library to the exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Great. All of a sudden, you just get 4 things for free just on ETB. That's great. On top of that, again, with that 10 mana from your commander or whatever, you can flip it over and transform it into Vitality Primal Sickness. 11/11 Phyrexian Elder Dinosaur Trample Indestructible deals combat damage to a player. They get that many poison counters. Basically, one-shot KO. Really hard to deal with. Have fun with that. Regal Force, other kind of ETBs you might want to use and abuse, like this one. Hey, 5/5 Elemental for 7 mana. Enters the battlefield, draw a card for each green creature you control, which again can be quite a bit because you're going to be building up your board and also dumping your hand into play. More green creatures, cool. Draw some cards. Again, if you've got ways to either bounce your commander back to your hand, sacrifice it, whatever, it gets taken out naturally. Replay it, and all of a sudden you can, again, just dump more things into play. Absolutely. And one of those might be a very expensive Crater Hope Behemoth. There you go. A 5/5 Beast with Haste for 8 mana in total, $35. My goodness. Enters the battlefield, creature control, gain trample, get +X/+X until up to X the number of creature you control. Again, if you're going wide with this commander, you drop this down. This can be game ending. Yeah, it is going to be a really fun build around this commander. Again, I think you can do a lot of crazy things, some broken things, some combo-y things, but also just like, hey, just good old-fashioned, get some power, tap it, and just drop your hand onto the table and say, opponents, deal with this now. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.